Good evening and welcome to the Euclid Board of Education regular meeting. Today is June 11th, and I say that not because you don't know where you are, but for the people that will watch this later on TV. We are meeting at the Fordyce building. Would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Call the roll, please.
Mrs. DeAngelis.
Here.
Mrs. Lizey.
Here.
Mr. Smith.
Here.
Mrs. Sudar.
Here.
Mrs. Van Hope.
Here.
All members are present.
Thank you. Need a motion to adopt the minutes for May 10th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 21st, 22nd, 23rd, and 30th.
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Sudar, second.
Second.
By Mrs. DeAngelis. We were just a little busy this last month. Yeah. Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Lizey.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mrs. Sudar.
Yes.
Mrs. Van Hope.
Yes.
Mrs. DeAngelis.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay. Do we have a legislative liaison report, Mr. Smith?
Yes, we do, Madam President. The state legislature is about ready to go on summer break also. They're finishing up their committee work this week. And I was going to give a bit of a summation of that, but that's really essentially what they're doing. But then the Plain Dealer came out with an article today, and again, today is Monday, June 11th. It'll be Wednesday in 2 days. But I would direct you, front page, the headline says, "Tax Changes Put Schools in Cash Crunch." And so I'd like to read from a few very quick paragraphs from today's front page Plain Dealer article. For the past year, many school districts across Ohio have been asked to do more with less after the state budget suddenly reimbursed them far less for lost business taxes, called tangible personal property taxes, than they had been getting. While keeping basic state aid flowing to schools, Governor John Kasich made the change to help avoid a multi-billion-dollar deficit. Districts knew that they would eventually lose the reimbursements, but the Kasich budget phased them out much more rapidly than the schools had planned for. The state had set up the reimbursement plan years before when it replaced tangible personal property taxes with a different business tax, the commercial activities tax. Revenues from the new tax go to the state instead of directly to the districts. The result will be a fiscal crunch for schools for the second year in a row. Northeast Ohio's 97 districts will take a harder hit than some other parts of the state. They will see an increase of more than $9 million in basic school aid next year, about 15% of the statewide increase, but they will receive almost $74 million less in the business tax reimbursement, which is about a third of the loss statewide. And again, quoting word for word out of the Plain Dealer about the shell game of school finance that is going on in Columbus. And quite literally, the state budget was balanced on the backs of the local municipal government fund and local school districts. And the result is that this district and other districts across the state and across Northeast Ohio are going to have to go up for levy amounts, perhaps a little larger than what we had anticipated and certainly what we would have hoped. And I guess the reason why I share this with you all assembled here and those watching at home is you need to know that this is not just a Euclid issue, this is a state of Ohio issue, but it will obviously have impact and it will play out here in Euclid. And that's my report.
Thank you. We have a student liaison report, Mrs. Lizey.
Yes, we do. Thank you, Madam President. Recently, Euclid High School science teacher and accomplished marathon runner Michelle McGarry coordinated a reading marathon that kicked off in March. The program promoted reading and fitness for Euclid High School students. This program enlisted 6 corporate sponsors and 10 volunteer teachers to get 68 students involved. For 26 straight school days, students were challenged to read for 30 minutes and walk 1 mile, simulating a marathon. The 10 teacher volunteers monitored and encouraged the participants by walking with the students, or they opened their rooms after school and during their lunch hours to provide them a quiet place to read. Of the 68 students who participated, 27 completed the entire marathon. Collectively, the students walked a total of 1,235 miles and read a total of 618 hours. This is the equivalent of walking from Euclid to Miami, Florida, and reading War and Peace over 13 times.
Wow.
Yeah, quite an accomplishment. This was the first year Euclid has conducted the reading marathon, and it was a tremendous success. The reading marathon not only promotes academic achievement through reading, it also encourages students to achieve personal wellness. Junior Jessica Sandy designed a t-shirt for all the participants, and the participants have donated 1 t-shirt for each of our board members. So in lieu of a video this evening, we do have a t-shirt to share with everybody, and I'll just hold this up. This was designed by one of our students, Jessica Sandy, and it's the EHS Reading Marathon Walk, Run, Read. It was also sponsored by Eaton Family Credit Union, Muldoon's, Dr. Neil Perko, Mike McGarry and Sons, and the Cleveland Clinic, and Wendy's. And these sponsors were able to donate items so that the kids had something along the way. So at the completion of the 10K, they received something. At the completion of the half marathon, they received something. And at the end of the marathon, they were all treated to an Indians game. So there were incentives along the way to keep them motivated and interested. At this time, I would like to extend a special thank you to Mr. Lysick and also to Rob Pasica, who's behind our camera back there, for all their support in producing the videos that have accompanied my reports this last academic school year. These student achievement reports have been extremely well received in our community, and they have demonstrated the importance of not only sharing but actually showing many of the successes that our students accomplish over the years. So thank you very much for helping me with that. And that concludes my report for this academic school year.
Okay, thank you. Do we, Mr. Treasurer, do we have any additions, corrections to the agenda?
Yes, we do. We have 1 addition, 1 deletion, and several revisions, and I'll list them quickly. The addition will go under new business, item number 31, approve employment contract of superintendent. Revisions include item 9, commend retiring classified staff. Item 14, consider lease agreement. Item 17, classified personnel 2011-12. Item 19, consider summer school staff 2012. Item 20, summer employment 2012. Item 21, approve payments from grants. Item 22, certified personnel 2012-13. Item 23, classified personnel 2012-13. Item 24, authorized contract with Horizon Software. Item 28, summer curriculum projects. And the deletion will be item number 11, financial data.
Thank you very much. This time I'll turn it over to Dr. Jones.
Any visitor comments relative?
Oh, I'm sorry. Where did I miss it? Yes, I did. Sorry. Are there any visitor comments relative to the agenda? Seeing none, I will turn it over to Dr. Jones.
Thank you, Madam President. Item number 8 is a resolution considering the commending retiring certified staff, and I recommend approval.
So moved. Moved by Mrs. Sudar. Second?
Second.
By Mrs. Lysy.
And if I may, with resolutions such as this, I would like to read it into the minutes. Be it resolved that whereas the Euclid Board of Education has accepted resignations for the purpose of retirement from 13 certified staff members and 1 administrator, and whereas the board wishes to recognize these individuals and express appreciation to them for their years of loyal service to the Euclid City Schools, now therefore be resolved that the Euclid Board of Education extends best wishes to the following: Jane Addis, Linda Bestbina, Karen Boyle, Lynn Davis, Teresa DuBroy, Darlene Fiffick, Patty Fiorito, Rebecca House, Nancy Lawrence, Jessica Mason, Gail Rea, Anthony Russo, David Saywell, Judy McElroy, and Joffrey Jones. Be it further resolved that the members of the Euclid Board of Education extends congratulations to these individuals and hopes that their retirement will be filled with happiness and pleasant memories of the years they spent as employees of the Euclid City Schools and the friends they have made. And Mrs. Van Ho, if you would join me as you take the
Call, please.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Sudar?
Yes.
Mrs. Van Ho?
Yes.
Mrs. De Angelis?
Yes.
Mrs. Lysy.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Not all these teachers are here this evening, or administrators are here this evening, but I will read the names of them as well and a brief description of their service. Jane Addis from the high school, who is an intervention specialist. She was hired in 1989 as a developmentally handicapped teacher at the high school and has remained there until her retirement. Ms. Addis also served as a mentor for the new intervention specialists hired at the high school. Linda Bestvina from Upson Elementary, Title I teacher. She began her teaching career as a first-grade teacher at Thomas Jefferson in 1984 and remained in this position until 2001 when she became a reading recovery teacher at Upson Elementary. Karen Boyle, the high school, the math teacher, began her tenure with the Euclid City Schools as a math teacher in 1984 and has served at both Central Middle School and the Euclid High School. While at the high school, Karen has been the math department chair, along with being the program coordinator for students of Cleveland State's Masters of Urban Secondary Training Program, and has served as a mentor for newly licensed math teachers hired at the high school. I know Lynn Davis is here. Lynn, would you please come up? Lynn has been a counselor at the Euclid High School since 1979 and has been a mentor for newly licensed counselors who were hired to work at the high school. She was responsible for organizing peer counseling groups and ninth grade teen institutes, and she was known to be a positive influence and dependable staff member during her time at the high school, and she has served for many years as the department chair of the guidance department at the high school. So congratulations, Lynn. Best of luck on your retirement. Just stay up there. Teresa Dubroy from the high school, math teacher, hired in 1986 as high school math teacher and served in this capacity for her entire tenure here at the Euclid City Schools. During this time, she has enriched the lives of many students who have come through her class. Darlene Fiffick, Forest Park, 6th grade teacher. Darlene started as a substitute teacher with the Euclid City Schools and became a regular member of the staff in 1989 as a 6th grade teacher at Forest Park Elementary School. When Forest Park was converted to a middle school, Mrs. Fiffick decided to continue her teaching career where she started. Patty Fiorito. Patty, yes, Patty is here. Mrs. Fiorito is most recently from Lincoln Elementary School, and she taught kindergarten. She began her career as a half-time teacher during the 1976-77 school year and was awarded a full-time contract beginning in 1979. During her tenure at Euclid, she has worked as a preschool, 2nd grade, 3rd grade, and kindergarten teacher. She also served as a remedial reading teacher at St. William Catholic School. Congratulations, best of luck on your retirement. Beverly House from the high school, Family and Consumer Science. Hired in 1995 as home economics teacher at the high school and served the students of Euclid very diligently throughout her teaching career. Nancy Lawrence. Officially, I'm not telling you the year that Nancy started. But Nancy was most recently at Lincoln as a Title I teacher. She started a while ago as a half-time reading recovery teacher at Thomas Jefferson Magnet School. And prior to being hired as a teacher, she served as a substitute teacher with the district. And good luck to you.
You don't have the before that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you did start some time ago. I know that to be true. So congratulations, Nancy. Best of luck in your retirement. Jessica Mason, at the high school, guidance counselor. Jessica Mason started her career with the district as a homeschool counselor and served in this position until the end of the 2010-11 school year. After serving as a homeschool counselor, she moved to the high school as a guidance counselor prior to her retirement. Gail Rea. Gail Rea is most recently at Lincoln as physical education teacher. She started her career as a physical education teacher in 1989 and has worked at Central, Forest Park, Thomas Jefferson, and Lincoln. She has served as the Elementary Physical Education Department Chair, Local Professional Development Committee member, and is a mentor to newly licensed physical education teachers who have been hired in the district. And Gail, we wish you the best. Anthony Russo. Mr. Russo is a high school counselor. He was hired in 1971 as a school counselor, and he began and ended his career at the high school. Mr. Russo originally retired after the 2003-04 school year, and after a bit of reflection, he felt that he could still contribute to the educational environment at the high school and returned to his current position during the 2004-05 school year, where he has remained until his most recent retirement. For many years, Tony has been the coordinator of our career technical program. Tony, congratulations, best of luck. David Saywell. Congratulations, David. David Saywell, most recently at Memorial Park, taught 5th grade there. He began his career in Euclid in 1978 at Shore Junior High School. Over the years, Dave has worked at several buildings, including Euclid High School, Noble Elementary, Forest Park, Thomas Jefferson, and Memorial Park. In addition to teaching, Dave has served as an assistant track coach, cross-country coach, safety patrol coordinator, bus duty supervisor, local professional development committee member and chairperson, and a mentor teacher. And although Dave is retiring as a teacher, he is staying on as the ETA president through the 2012-13 school year. Congratulations, Dave. Best of luck. And Judy McElroy is assistant principal at Forest Park. Judy was hired during the 2000-2001 school year as an assistant principal at Central Middle School, and in 2004, she transferred to Forest Park as an assistant principal, where she remained until her retirement. So this is our...
Dr. Geoffrey Jones, Superintendent of Euclid City Schools. Dr. Jones served as the Superintendent of Euclid Schools beginning July 1st, 2002. During Dr. Jones' tenure at the Euclid Schools, he was instrumental in getting voters to pass 2 operating levies, a permanent improvement levy, and a bond issue. He was also able to maintain labor peace by negotiating several bargaining agreements during a financially challenging time in the district. With the passage of the bond issue, the voters of the city school district believed Dr. Jones' vision that building 4 new elementary schools would meet the needs of the Euclid students far into the 21st century. As superintendent, Dr. Jones has seen the district state rating go from academic watch to continuous improvement after just 3 years on the job, all while introducing strong educational programs such as the award-winning Euclid Culinary Program at the high school. As a member of the larger educational community, Dr. Jones was a member of the First Ring Leadership, president of the Greater Cleveland School Superintendents Association, and a member on the board of directors for the Greater Cleveland Educational Development Center, among others. The 10 years of service that Dr. Jones has dedicated to the Euclid City School District has been both challenging and rewarding for both the employees of the district and the community. It was a pleasure to have him here, and we wish him only the best of luck in the future.
Thank you. Would any of you like to share any words of collective wisdom?
I've spoken enough over my years.
I would second that. And I have said enough too.
Family here?
Your family who have joined?
I just like to say, not only did I enjoy working with all these teachers, but 4 of us, David and Nancy and Patty and I are product of Euclid City Schools. And not only do we thank Euclid and the board for the great education that we had, but we hope that the teachers to follow and the administration and the board will just continue with the conviction that we try to give back to our students through the years. So thank you not only for, being part of our whole lives, really. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Different years. A few different years, okay. But we've
did a year we were all there, 5 years we were all there.
Wow. And then Roosevelt's coming down.
Well, thank you, congratulations. Item number 9 is a resolution commending retiring classified staff, and I recommend approval.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Sudar, second by Mr. Smith. Did you want to read it in?
Yes, if I may, I would like to read the resolution into the record. Be it resolved that whereas the Euclid Board of Education has accepted resignations for retirement from 29 classified staff members during the 2011-12 school year, and whereas the board wishes to recognize these individuals and express appreciation to them for their years of loyal service to the Euclid City Schools, now therefore it be resolved that the Euclid Board of Education extends best wishes to the following: Laura Anderson, Carol Brown, Rich Brunette, Eunice Clark, Joanne Cockerell, Albert Cottrell, Randy Davis, Joseph DeLillo, Roger Ditmarson, Jane Fowler, Karen Gornt, Phyllis Gogan, Denise Gruden, Valentia Heltberger, Joanne Hodder, Mary Jo Ibeck, Lois Jackson, Barbara Caraba, Kathleen McDermott, Nancy Morgan Claypax, Janice Neby, Paul Nielsen, David Parkinson, Mary Pasquale, Donna Sherman, Kathleen Shannon, Patricia Thomas, Teresa Smith, Rosemary Tyler, Sandy Williams, and Alan Black. Be it further resolved that the members of the Euclid Board of Education extend congratulations to these individuals and hope that their retirement will be filled with happiness and pleasant memories of the years they spent as employees of the Euclid City Schools and the friends they have made. So congratulations one and all.
Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Sudar.
Yes.
Mrs. Van Hoen.
Yes.
Mrs. DeAngelis.
Yes.
Mrs. Lysy.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, and if I may, I know we have several of these employees here today, and we're very proud and happy to be honoring them this evening. Laura Anderson. While a student, she is a secretary from the IT department, and while a student at Euclid High School, she worked as a co-op for that department. The AV department, it was called then, was hired full-time on July 1st, 1977 in the AV department, where she remained her whole career with Euclid. She is retiring effective July 1st, 2012. So our congratulations and best wishes. Alan Black. Alan Black is AV technician at the high school. He was hired on November 22nd, 1982 as an AV technician at the high school, and he has been the technical crew chief for scores of big shows, musical performances, and other presentations in our auditorium. And Alan will be retiring effective July 1st, 2012. Congratulations, Alan. Best of luck. Carol Brown. Carol Brown is an educational assistant at Euclid High School who was hired as a teacher assistant on December 17, 1980. She worked at Memorial Park, Upson, Forest Park, Central, and Euclid High School. Retired in February 2002, and she returned to Euclid as a substitute teacher assistant in January 2003. She was hired full-time in August 2003 at Euclid High School, and she retired again at the end of May 2012. Richard Burnett. Richard Burnett is a heavy equipment operator. He was hired on May 8, 1978 on an auxiliary building services position at Euclid High School. In January 1979, he transferred to general maintenance grounds. January 2002, he became the heavy equipment operator, and he retired February 29, 2012. Eunice Clark. Eunice Clark was a lunch supervisor at Lincoln. She was hired on March 20th, 1996 as a substitute lunch and teacher assistant. In August 1996, she was hired full-time as a lunch assistant. She worked at Lincoln and Forest Park. She became the lunch supervisor on August 29th, 2002 at Lincoln, and Eunice retired effective May 30th, 2012. Congratulations and best of luck. Joanne Cockrell. Joanne is a counter server at the high school. She was hired on August 30th, 1989 as a substitute in the cafeteria. She was hired full-time on January 22nd, 1990 in a various kitchen position at Euclid High School. She became counter server at Euclid High School on August 25th, 1993, and she retired effective May 31st, 2012. Albert Cortrell. Albert is our general cleaner at Thomas Jefferson and Roosevelt. Hired on July 19, 2004 as a mobile relief cleaner based at Euclid High School, Al became general cleaner in January 2005. He's worked at Glenbrook, Central, Thomas Jefferson, and Roosevelt. He retired effective December 31st, 2011. Congratulations, Albert. Randy Davis. Randy Davis was a custodian at Memorial Park and other places, but he was hired on February 24th, 1986 as a substitute cleaner. Hired full-time on November 3rd, 1987 as a general cleaner at Glenbrook. Randy became assistant custodian in January 1988 and custodian in February 1990. He's worked at Glenbrook, Forest Park, Central, Roosevelt, and Memorial Park, and he retired effective December 31st, 2011. I hope your retirement's going great. Joseph DeLillo. Joseph was our custodian at the high school. He was hired on March 13, 1989 as a substitute bus driver and substitute bus aide. He became full-time bus driver in August of 1989. Transferred to assistant custodian at Forest Park in August of 1990. And Joe became custodian at the high school in January 1997 and head custodian in June 1999. He retired effective December 31st, 2011, and I hope your retirement has been great, although I've seen you working around the district. Roger Dittmarson, bus driver for the Transportation Department, hired on April 20th, 1998 as a substitute bus driver and substitute bus aide. Roger became full-time bus aide in September 1998 and a bus driver in January of 1999. He is retiring effective the end of this month. Jane Fowler. Jane Fowler is our school treasurer at the high school. She was hired in January 6, 1986 as school treasurer at the high school and is retiring, or did retire effective April 30th, 2012. Karen Gornt. Is Karen here this evening? Karen Gornt is cashier assistant at Upson. She was hired on January 24th, 1983 as a lunch assistant at Noble Elementary. She became a cashier assistant in August 1989 and has worked at Noble, Thomas Jefferson, and Upson, and she retired effective May 31st, 2012. Phyllis Gogan, famous baker at the high school. Hired on May 2nd, 1983 in a substitute cafeteria position. She became kitchen assistant in October 1983. She became an assistant baker in January 1990 and baker at the high school in July 1992. She has worked at Noble, Forest Park, Roosevelt, Thomas Jefferson, and Euclid High School. Denise Gruden, accounts payable supervisor at Fordyce. Hired on May 2nd, 1983 as accounts payable supervisor, and she remained there until she retired on April 30th, 2012. Walenta Heltberger. Valentina? Tina. Sorry about the name, it's Valentina, I know. Thank you. Tina was a general cleaner at the high school. Hired on February 4th, 2002 in a substitute cafeteria position, she transferred to substitute cleaner in April 2002. Hired full-time in January 2003 as a mobile relief cleaner based at the high school and became general cleaner in June 2003. She has worked at the high school, Central, and Glenbrook, and she's retiring effective the end of this month. Congratulations, Tina, and I wish you the best. Joanne Hodder. Joanne Hodder is a secretary, most recently at Euclid High School, but she was hired on September 13th, 1984 as a lunch assistant at Upson. She became a security aide at the high school in August of 1988 and transferred to secretary at the high school in January 1992. Joanne is retiring effective July 1st, 2012. Mary Jo Ivick. Mary Jo Ivick is a health monitor at Forest Park. She was hired as a substitute teacher assistant and substitute health monitor in September 2007. She became a full-time health monitor at Forest Park on January 3rd, 2008, and she retired effective June 1st of this year. Lois Jackson. Lois Jackson was a secretary, most recently with the Pupil Services here at Fordyce. Hired on May 10th, 1982 as a general office secretary at the Fordyce Administration Building. She became the staff secretary in December 1982 and the school community relations secretary in July 1995. She transferred to the Pupil Services Department for the 2011-12 school year. Lois is retiring effective July 1st, 2012. Barbara Caraba, bus driver and transportation. Barbara was hired on October 22nd, 1986 as a substitute bus driver and substitute bus aide. She became regular relief driver and aide in February 1987 and bus driver in March 1988. She retired effective August 18th, 2011. Kathleen McDermott. Kathleen McDermott is a health monitor at Memorial Park. Hired in February 17th, 1989 as a substitute health monitor. She added substitute secretary position in December 1995. Kathleen became full-time health monitor August 27th, 1996 and worked at Glenbrook and Memorial Park. She retires effective the end of this month. Nancy Morgan Claypex, accounts receivable at Fordyce. Hired in November 1980 in an accounts receivable position. She worked in the Treasurer's Department until her retirement, effective December 31st, 2011. Janice Neebe, general cleaner, Thomas Jefferson. Hired August 26, 1985 as a bus driver. She transferred to general cleaner on January 3rd, 1989. She worked at Upson, Central, Lincoln, and Thomas Jefferson. She retired effective the end of May 2012. Paul Nielsen, technology assistant at the high school. Hired December 1997 as a substitute teacher. Became the technology assistant at the high school on August 14th, 2003. He retired effective June 8th, 2012, just Friday. David Parkinson, custodian at Upson. Hired August 29th, 1983 as a general cleaner at Memorial Park. He transferred to a general building maintenance position on July 1985, assistant custodian in February 1991, and a custodian in October 1993. He has worked at Memorial Park, Forest Park, the Fordyce Building, Lincoln, and Upson. He retired effective December 31st, 1911. Mary Pasquale, secretary at Forest Park, was hired in February 1st, 1983 as a general office secretary at the Fordyce Building. She has worked in pupils personnel, community ed, and food services, and most recently at Forest Park. She retired January 31st, 2012. Donna Sherman. Donna Sherman is an educational assistant at Roosevelt. Hired on September 19th, 1989 as a substitute lunch assistant, Donna became a regular lunch aide in February 1990. She transferred to a teacher assistant position on August 31st, 1990. She became the Title I Reading Recovery Educational Assistant in August 1992. She has worked at Upson, Glenbrook, and Thomas Jefferson, and is retiring effective the end of this month, 2012. Congratulations and best wishes to you. Kathleen Shannon.
Thank you.
Kathleen Shannon was a lunch assistant at Memorial Park. She was hired on November 8th, 2005 as a substitute lunch assistant. Hired as a regular lunch assistant in February 2006. She's worked at Upson and Memorial Park and then retired effective May 31st, 2012. Congratulations. Teresa Smith, various kitchen positions at Central. Hired on October 18, 1999 as a cafeteria substitute. She became a regular employee on September 11, 2000 in various kitchen positions at the high school. She transferred to Central in October of 2000 and she retired effective August 8, 2011. Patricia Thomas, lunch assistant at Memorial Park. Hired September 10, 2007 as a lunch assistant at Memorial Park and retired effective the end of May 2012. Rosemary Tyler. Rosemary is a Child Development Center teacher at the Child Development Center. Hired on April 25th, 1986 as a substitute daycare aide. Rosemary became regular daycare aide in July 1986. She became the early childhood instructor in July 1987 and retired effective December 31st, 2011. Congratulations. And I hope your retirement has been well. And Sandy Williams. Sandy Williams is a secretary most recently at the high school. She was hired on January 4th, 1995 as a unit secretary at Central Middle School. She transferred to the high school and worked as the attendance secretary and unit office secretary and is retiring effective September 1st, 2012. Congratulations and best wishes. If any of you would like to say a word or introduce anyone who may have come with you. Yes.
I also am a product of Euclid schools, as my husband is, and I think many of us are, Alan. Our children were proud to say our products of Euclid school and gone on to be very successful. One's teaching at Forest Park, the other one used to teach at Forest Park. So, very proud of Euclid, continue to live here, and thank you.
Thank you.
Tom Shannon, who retired from the Cleveland Board of Education. He had 30 years in at Case Elementary, and God bless him, and I hope we pray we have a blessed retirement together.
Yes.
Thank you all very much.
Thanks very much.
We do have refreshments in honor of all of our retirees in the hallway. We'll break for 10 minutes for that, and I encourage you to come back for the rest of the meeting. Most of it will be short, but I think there's some exciting things coming up on the agenda.
Before the break, if I could just say
yes,
one
go ahead.
word. I'll save my remarks about my own retirement till a later time, but I just want to say that you can tell from the recognitions this evening that we have a lot of history here. A lot of people who've worked many, many years, very proudly serving the students and the community of Euclid, and I'm very proud to have been working alongside them and to have them working for us. An organization is certainly people-centered, and we are so lucky to be blessed with the presence of so many wonderful and beautiful people who have worked with us. So congratulations one and all. Thank you for your service, and I wish you all a very blessed and healthy and safe retirement. So congratulations.
are reconvening our meeting. It is 8:24, so that was pretty good.
Yeah.
Right.
And we'll move on to reports. Oh, I'm sorry, we have a presentation.
Yes,
Dr.
ma'am.
Jones.
We have this evening for item number 10, a presentation about our K-8 technology curriculum. Mr. Lysak will kick it off, and if you'll introduce the teachers who are here with you to support you.
Thank you, Dr. Jones. Thank you, Board of Education. We are here to talk about the K-8 technology curriculum. One of the requirements in the E-rate funding, one of the new requirements is to do a formal presentation on how you are addressing cyberbullying, acceptable use policy, and internet usage within your districts. We've been doing this for years, so we're actually ahead of the game, but the formality of presenting this, and we thought it would be fantastic for you to see exactly what the Euclid students are doing, and we've invited some teachers here to show you some of what they do in the classrooms with kids. So to give you a brief background on our K-8 technology program, it actually evolved from these three things: student skills, teacher need, and expanded use of these tools that kids are using. It actually started at the high school with our high school teachers coming to the IT department and saying and requesting, can we do something to build up the skills of these students, because we're trying to utilize these tools in our classes, but we're finding that we have to teach the kids some remedial skills when it comes to the technology, and it's distracting from the learning. So 4 years ago, we took that problem to our middle school staff. And we talked with a few of our middle school staff about building in a course into the rotation where students would take these skills and learn the skills. They integrated it, and at the end of the first year, they came to us, and it was an echo of what the high school teachers were saying. They said, we love this. We want to do these projects. But when we get the kids from the elementary, they come with such varying skills. Can we integrate a program at the elementary school? So we took that to the elementary staff, and they developed a K-5 technology curriculum. As far as I know, we are the only district in the region that I'm aware of that has a K-8 articulated technology program for kids. It really does some fantastic things. So it came from the teachers, we constructed it, and it's really based with these three things in mind, that by the time the students leave this program and they go through all of the grades, we want them to be responsible and proficient users of these tools so that they're prepared to leverage those tools as learning tools, not just something that's fun to use. Really leverage these powerful devices for learning. So that's really what the curriculum is about. Now, our current practice at our elementary school, we're excited that next year we will have students participating in this technology curriculum every 4 days. So we're on a 4-day rotation. Every student, K-5, every 4 days will participate in a 40-minute session. And will receive this curriculum. The middle school does it daily for 9 weeks, and it's about a 45-minute session. It's part of their wheeled rotation. And then at the high school, that was kind of the end game for us. So by the time they leave the 8th grade, there really is not that need to teach the students the technology, because they've been with us, and if we do need it, there are some technology courses that students can take. But it really is, by the time the students leave the 8th grade, the technology skills are integrated into the classes at the high school. So, and our areas of focus all the way through, kindergarten through 8th grade, are our acceptable use policy. So how the district views using these technology tools, internet safety, and cyberbullying. So those are really the three large tenets that come in there. How we address those it varies from grade level to grade level. We have our teachers here to talk to you about that today. But it really is integrated into meaningful projects that do align with the curriculum. These aren't just teaching technology to teach technology. It's teaching technology integrated into meaningful curricular projects. I'm happy to say that we have 3 teachers here today to talk with you a bit about them, 2 of which will stick with that theme of having Euclid grads. 2 are Euclid grads and current educators in the Euclid schools. Very, very pleased with these 3 individuals, and they are just a representation of the staff that we had. Difficult to work around vacation plans in June, so I thank these teachers up front for coming in on a day off to do this presentation. So we have Donna Weber, who's an elementary technology coach. She's going to be doing an introduction about how some of the components that we hit in the elementary, especially one of the tools called NetSmarts, Bob Yo, another elementary coach, will be talking about student safety and online communication and how we utilize that within the curriculum for the elementary students. And then Brett Stanek is from our middle school. He's from Central Middle School, and he will be talking about how when the students get to the middle school, they take what they've learned in the elementary and start to apply it, practice it, and go beyond and really see some really meaningful and impactful things going on. So with that, I'm going to turn things over to Donna Weber.
Thank you. And unfortunately, I'm not the Euclid graduate, but you are. But one of the things, the students use the internet for research to help them produce projects at the elementary level. Also, we have Polycom video conferencing units, so the students are able to communicate with students around the world. A piece of keeping our children safe is teaching them about the risks and making responsible choices in these. And we've looked at many different internet safety programs, but we decided to use this one. It is put together by the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, and one of the things that we really liked about this program is it has components not just for the children, for teachers, for law enforcement, parents and guardians, and it goes all the way through ages 5 through 17. So it has everything that we need. And while we're using this program, one of the other things that we do like about it, it's age appropriate. It has a lot of great animations. Our kids are bombarded with animated TV shows and things, so it entertains them as well as educating them. And next, Bob Yo is going to talk more about NetSmarts.
Thank you. Designing a curriculum is a very dynamic process because education is always changing. And in the world of technology, things change faster than we can even get things written down on paper. So in all of our planning, one of our goals has always been to keep our children safe. And at the youngest grades, we're always exposing them to those things, those dangers. But this year, one of our new goals was to try to incorporate the parents into what we're doing because we want the teachers and the parents to be speaking the same language. And NetSmart Kids actually does a really nice job doing that. And I just want to show you this quick little video clip so you can kind of see the common language that is being spoken between teacher and at home.
Be safer online and offline too. Remember these rules and you'll know what to do. Check first, take a friend. Tell people no, tell a trusted adult. Now you're ready to go! Boys and girls, it's Clicky!
I'm back! What's up, Jack? It's Clicky on the mic with the safety fact. 1, 2, 3, dance with me. Come on, kids, here we go! Yippee! Being safer online is what I'm all about. Use your NetSmart, UIN, no doubt. But you gotta be safer when you're not online. If you're walking down the street, or if you're ever asked to get in the car, or help someone, accept anything, or leave with anyone. Check first with an adult you trust, like your parent or guardian. Now that's a must. Now this is the part where you learn to say no. If anyone ever makes you feel uncomfortable, bad, scared, or confused, you have the right to say no. The right to refuse. Be safer online and offline too. Take a friend with you wherever you do. And remember, you are strong and smart. You have the right to be safe. Now here's the last part. If anything happens, it's never your fault. Tell a parent, guardian, or a trusted adult. Some people out there are not who they seem. They pretend they are nice when they're really very mean. So listen to my rap. Tell your friends too. Remember these rules and you'll know what to do. Check first, take a friend. Tell people no and tell a trusted adult. Now you're ready to go. My name is Clicky and I like to rhyme. So before I go, say it one more time. Check first, take a friend. Tell people no and tell a trusted adult. Now you're ready to go. I'm out. See ya online.
NetSmarts Kids.
So I think NetSmarts does a pretty good job of bridging that gap, that communication between home and at school. So the whole idea being that, not only are we going to try and make this curriculum fun for the kids, but we're also going to try to incorporate some of that parent and some of those terminologies that we're going to be using, And we're hoping that this year possibly that somewhere during our open house we'll be able to have parents come in and we can do a little presentation to the parents during open house, just so we can inform, you know, a bigger body of parents at once. Brett?
Okay, so continuing on at the middle school level, we use the same resource, but we use a subsite of NetSmarts, and the next logical step is the teenage section, which, if you're looking at the site, there's several sections of this site that students can visit. It's more of a student-centered, off on their own kind of experience where they can engage with the website on their own. So these different sections that they can check out involve games, obviously a favorite of the students. The games that are available to them, even though they're games, they do have internet safety messages attached to them, and they do imitate a lot of the popular games that are out today, such as Plants vs. Zombies, kind of take that with an internet safety theme. So the students really do enjoy that. There's these different sections as well besides games. There's videos that students can watch. All these videos are set in a cartoon style, so again, it's engaging, they're entertained by it, but the messages behind them are always great. Moving on, we also have a comic that the students go through, which contains more internet safety information, and then there's even a teaching materials section that obviously I use, but there's also a section specifically designed for high school students to engage with elementary and middle school students as well, which is something that we might implement in the future. Moving on from the internet safety, at the middle school we want to start applying what we know and what we've learned. And with all of our internet safety topics that we do cover, we want them to actually put those to use in a safe way. This website that we use is gaggle.net. It's a site specifically designed for teachers and students to use different communication tools. It has email, it has chat rooms, message boards, even a social wall which imitates Facebook or MySpace. So again, the students are all using these kinds of resources and communication tools in a safe environment. So as odd as it sounds, they learn how to use email, but they can only email each other within the room. Seems kind of silly, but it's teaching them how to use it safely so that when they do go to the high school, they can create their own email addresses, they can learn how to properly send an email, being formal and using their netiquette, as we call it. So after they leave us, they get to the high school, and again, they can be prepared for their own internet usage.
So as you can see, that curriculum, even though we're touching kindergarten through 8th grade, those three themes of acceptable use on the internet safety, cyberbullying, those all really permeate throughout all of the grades. We just hit them at an age-appropriate level, and really feel that it's a moral imperative for us, to teach kids how to behave online. You wouldn't turn a kiddo out at the mall and let them walk around or walk the streets before you show them how to do it. And we really see that as a component of what this curriculum is about. It's providing a safe environment for kids to experiment and do these things with a guided adult and really practice how to behave. So, let's keep our fingers crossed that we don't have any of those stories showing up where, either a student is misbehaved online or done something inappropriate. So we really feel that this curriculum is hitting the message. So I would like to extend a thank you again to the three individuals who came in and open up any questions to the board.
Anyone have any questions?
Mr. Smith.
Of course he does.
Yes, I do. Congratulations to you, Mr. Lysak, and the three teachers who made presentations. Because it could not have been better. And I know the board knows, and that's why they're kind of snickering. For the general public who may or may not be aware, I worked in the Cuyahoga County Prosecutor's Office for 7.5 years, left there in February, but spent the majority of my time working with, my assignment was in the Ohio Internet Crimes Against Children Unit. Which is the U.S. Department of Justice strategy for fighting internet predators and child pornography is through a task force strategy. There's 62 or 63 task forces across the country, The Ohio task force is run by the Cuyahoga County Prosecutor's Office, and I was one of the staff assigned to that unit. NCMEC is one of the greatest partners we ever had in fighting these crimes, and NetSmarts was the child education tool that we recommended time and time again. And the fact that you all have come to that same conclusion really makes me feel good about what this school district is doing to try to protect its kids against internet child predators and child pornography. So I would just encourage folks watching at home that have questions either to call our district, because we can clearly get you some good teaching tools, or call the Cuyahoga County Prosecutor's Office and ask to speak to a staff member who's involved in the Ohio Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. NetSmarts, if you just want to Google that, is the word net and then smarts, except smarts ends with a Z, so it's netsmartz.org. That is operated by the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, and they are tremendous in in a myriad of ways on dealing with these issues. And the only last thing I would say is that for you parents that are watching this, an informed parent really is the best defense against an internet child predator. And you've got to try to create a dialogue where it's not you against your child in a battle over technology, but it's you and your child working together to try to keep that child from falling into harm's way, because there are some monsters out there. And we've caught a lot of them, but there's still more. So hats off to you, Mr. Lysick, and to the teaching staff involved in this, because yeah, you could not be delivering a better message to our kids.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much. Any other comments? Okay, thank you. And thank you to the three of you for coming in on your vacation.
Thank you.
I have to share that when Mr. Lysick had first presented this opportunity to, well, this requirement actually, I thought we should do it at the May special meeting, because the teachers would not, would be off work already, and he said, no, they are very dedicated to being in here and showing up and making their presentation, and I agree that you're dedicated, and I thank you for that dedication, so appreciate it.
Okay, we'll move on then to reports and recommendations of the treasurer, Mr. Vassick.
Thank you, Mrs. Van Ho. Item 12 is a resolution to accept donations, cash donations totaling $2,047 for the Student Achievement Banquet, and I recommend approval.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Sudar, second.
Second.
By Mrs. DeAngelis. Any questions or comments? Other than it was a wonderful time. Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Van Ho.
Yes.
Mrs. DeAngelis.
Yes.
Mrs. Lysy.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mrs. Sudar.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Item 13 is a resolution approving the hiring of Ohio Comp as the district's managed care organization, and I recommend approval.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Sudar, second.
Second.
By Mr. Smith. Any questions or comments?
If I may add, there's an open enrollment every 2 years for managed care organizations. These organizations are paid by the Bureau of Workers' Compensation. We only choose the firm.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Sudar.
Yes.
Mrs. Van Ho.
Yes.
Mrs. DeAngelis.
Yes.
Mrs. Lysy.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Item 14 is a resolution approving the authorization of the execution of a master lease purchase agreement with Apple Incorporated, and I recommend approval.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Sudar, second.
Second.
Mr. Smith. Any questions or comments? This is a repeat of.
Yes, this is the third lease that we've done under the leadership of Mr. Lysick to provide laptop teachers for staff.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Van Ho.
Yes.
Mrs. DeAngelis.
Yes.
Mrs. Lysy.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mrs. Sudar.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay.
And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Reports and recommendations of the superintendent, Dr. Jones.
Thank you, Mrs. Van Ho. Items number 15 through 23 this evening are personnel related, and Dr. Selico will represent me in these matters.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 15 is resolution considering revisions to the classified staff program, reductions and additions for the 2013 school year, and I recommend approval.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Sudar, second.
Second.
By Mr. Smith.
Yes, and this is after, again, examining our elementary reconfiguration and also high school restructuring, we ended up having a need for to cut 2 more high school cafeteria employees.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments? Call the roll, please.
Mrs. De Angelis.
Yes.
Mrs. Lysy.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mrs. Sudar.
Yes.
Mrs. Van Hoen.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Item 16 is a resolution considering the certified staff for the 2011-2012 school year, and I recommend approval.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Sudar, second.
Second.
By Mrs. Lysy. Any questions or comments? Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Lysy.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mrs. Sudar.
Yes.
Mrs. Van Hoen.
Yes.
Mrs. De Angelis.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Item 17 is a resolution considering the classified staff for the 2011-2012 school year, and I recommend approval.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Sudar, second.
Second.
By Mr. Smith. Any questions or comments? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mrs. Sudar.
Yes.
Mrs. Van Hoen.
Yes.
Mrs. De Angelis.
Yes.
Mrs. Lysy.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Item 18 is a resolution considering the non-teaching personnel reduction in force, and these are the 2 cafeteria people named now in the resolution, and I recommend approval.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Sudar, second. By
Second.
Mr. Smith. Any questions or comments? Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Sudar.
Yes.
Mrs. Van Hoen.
Yes.
Mrs. De Angelis.
Yes.
Mrs. Lysy.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Item 19 is a resolution considering the 2012 summer school staff appointments, and I recommend approval.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Sudar, second.
Second.
By Mr. Smith. Any questions or comments?
We still have, I'm sorry,
Okay.
we still have 4 positions that haven't been filled. Do we expect them to be filled within the next several weeks or a couple of weeks? Or?
Yeah, well, the update on summer school is, 1, our enrollment is extremely low, so a little plug to summer school. If you have not enrolled and you need to, please do so soon. They are still taking enrollments. The number of people here, many of them currently do not have a position, but we have them in reserve just in case we do get the enrollment.
Okay.
Should we not get the enrollment, people will not be employed. But it's day by day, depending on our enrollment. So we appoint them, and then in July, you'll see the final list of who was really staffed for that.
Thank you.
Dr. Solika, when is summer school when does it begin?
Shortly after, so which should be next week? Is anyone here that knows that answer? Is it next week?
Right.
Friday?
Summer school?
Yes.
Today?
Today.
Okay. What is today? Monday, yes.
Okay.
Sometimes we
Starts
take a week
after
off.
School is out. We could have started a week later this year because of the summer break being longer, but we kept it as the standard 1 week after school is out.
Any other questions or comments? Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Van Hoen.
Yes.
Mrs. De Angelis.
Yes.
Mrs. Lysy.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mrs. Sudar.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Item 20 is a resolution considering the 2012 summer employment for the classified staff, and I recommend approval.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Sudar, second.
Second.
By Mr. Smith. Any questions or comments? Call the roll, please.
Mrs. De Angelis.
Yes.
Mrs. Lysy.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mrs. Sudar.
Yes.
Mrs. Van Hoen.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Item 21 is a resolution considering grant payments, and I recommend approval.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Smith, second by Mrs. Lysy. Any questions or comments? Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Lysy.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mrs. Sudar. Mrs. Van Hoen.
Yes.
Mrs. De Angelis.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Item 22 is a resolution considering the certified staff for the 2012-2013 school year, and I recommend approval.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Sudar, second.
Second.
By Mr. Smith. Any questions or comments?
Yes, a couple of things here. In this resolution, we have some good news, and that is that we will be recalling a guidance counselor for the high school, as well as in the next resolution, we'll be, again, recalling some employees, so we're excited about that. In addition to that, I have some people that I'd like to introduce you to tonight as our recommendations for appointments. And to begin, administratively, we have Mr. Ken Ferlito, who is here this evening, who switched. He was in the front row, but I noticed that he moved to the back row. It's not that I was watching or keeping track of you, Ken. Ken has been serving the Euclid City School District for over 25 years, and many of us know Mr. Fordyce, and he's been in various teaching and administrative capacities. Ken, I know, is a Euclid resident, a Euclid graduate. His children have gone through our schools, and still one, I see Jody, who's about to graduate, who did just graduate, and one more, so a lot of Euclid roots. So Ken is going to be appointed as our Title I/PD coordinator, and we recently made a change to that title. It was a little misleading. Title I is just one part of the federal grants, so we're looking to change that title to Federal Grants and Professional Development Coordinator. So I'd like to welcome Ken, and Ken, if you'd like to stand and say a few words.
Well, I'd like to thank the board, Dr. Jones, Dr. Selico, Mr. Schweitzer, as well as Mr. Liaison for this opportunity to serve in this capacity. I have been in the district for over 25 years. Actually, I've been here my whole life. So, but I'm very excited about this position. I've been working on Title I with Bertie Miller as the secretary with me for over 10 years. And Bertie's actually been doing it over probably close to 20 years. And I just see so many opportunities with this position, working and coordinating a lot more with the district initiatives and working with the academic service team. I'm very excited about that. We've already started some things this week working, and it's just actually quite thrilling. So I'd like to thank my wife and my daughter for being here tonight, and look forward to continuing to serve the district. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Verlito.
Next, I'd like to introduce you to Stacy Spear. Stacy, if you'll just stand, I'll read a little bit about you here. Stacy is going to be appointed as the assistant principal at Forest Park Middle School. And Stacy recently graduated from Cleveland State University with a master's degree in school administration. She has also received her master's degree of curriculum and instruction in May 2001 from Cleveland State. She was the dean of students at East Cleveland City School District for 2 years and worked in the Cleveland Metropolitan School District for 10 years as an intervention specialist. So, Stacy, we'd like to welcome you, and if you have anything that you would like to say.
I would just like to thank the board, Dr. Jones, Mr. Schweitzer, and Dr. Selico for the opportunity for me to join your Euclid family. Although I was not raised in Euclid, I have been familiar with what goes on in the community. I've many family members that reside in this community, and I've attended many functions. So I'm very excited to bring my skills and abilities to join with such a dynamic group of people. I mean, I just feel the love coming here, and although I'm going to miss my school district that I'm currently employed, I just have gone back and told them, I said, I love it here, but you just have to go there. I said, even going to the admin building, it's just so bright and so full of life, and I just can't wait to enter into this district and to be given the opportunity to just, you know, touch the lives of the children out here like I've done in the previous district that I've been in.
Well, thank you very much.
Next, moving on to teachers, we have with us this evening Tina Salo, and Tina, if you could stand. Tina will be the speech and language teacher for the TOTS program primarily. We know those people tend to travel, but we are going to plop you down in TOTS right now, which is our preschool handicapped students. And just to tell you a little bit about Tina, Tina has over 20 years of experience as a speech language pathologist. Tina graduated from Edinburgh University in 1989 with a Bachelor of Arts in Speech and Hearing Disorders, and then graduated in 1991 from Cleveland State University with a master's degree in speech pathology. She has worked at the Lake County Educational Service Center since 2001. Tina, if you'd like to say a few words.
I'm proudly going to continue the tradition, and as well as my husband, who's here with me tonight, fellow Euclideans. We graduated from Euclid together, so I'm glad to continue that. I appreciate and I'm really looking forward to this opportunity and this next chapter in my career. As you said, I've been a speech therapist for 21 years. Most recently, 11 years strictly with preschoolers. Preschoolers are my thing. They're what I really I strive for. So I'm looking forward to that, and I appreciate this opportunity, and it'll be a good chapter in my career. So thanks.
Thank you.
finally, as of 7 o'clock this evening, we have Liam O'Donnell, who I had signing on the dotted line prior to the meeting. So Liam, if you could stand, please. Liam is going to be appointed as an intervention specialist at Euclid High School. Liam graduated from Cleveland State University with a bachelor's degree in liberal arts and social sciences and education, and from Ashland University with a mild moderate special education degree. He has worked for Oberlin School District as a building substitute for 2 years. He has also coached high school football at Oberlin High School for 2 years. So Liam, if you'd like to say a few words.
I just want to thank the board and the administration for this opportunity. I'm extremely excited to be in another large district. I grew up in a large district, Lakewood, so I know the feeling and the unity of a large city, how they actually come together. And so looking forward to this fall and ready to get going. So thank you again.
Thank you. Okay. Last. Is that the last one?
Roll call.
Okay. Oh, we need a roll call. Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Sudar?
Yes.
Mrs. Van Ho?
Yes.
Mrs. DeAngelis?
Yes.
Mrs. Lysy?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. And item 23 is a resolution considering the classified staff for the 2012-2013 school year, and I recommend approval.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Sudar, second.
Second.
By Mr. Smith. Any questions or comments? Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Sudar?
Yes.
Mrs. Van Ho?
Yes.
Mrs. DeAngelis?
Yes.
Mrs. Lysy?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Selico. Item number 24 is a resolution considering the authorization of a contract to Horizon Software for a replacement food service system, and I recommend approval.
We're not doing the insurance?
No, we're not doing the insurance
Okay,
at this time. We are still
That's fine.
competitively working through the pricing of that.
Okay. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Sudar, second.
Second.
By Mrs. Lysy.
This is a contract for $138,000 to Horizon Software International for the purchasing the point-of-sale system for food service in all district schools. We believe it will be a vast improvement to the antiquated system we have now. It will incorporate nutritional information as well as free-and-reduced information and allow for the system to operate efficiently, much more so than it currently does. The purchase price will be from the food service budget.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments? Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Van Ho?
Yes.
Mrs. DeAngelis?
Yes.
Mrs. Lysy?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Sudar?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Item number 25 is a resolution considering to authorize a lease with Euclid Mall Rental and the Toys R Us space, and I recommend approval.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Sudar, second.
Second.
By Ms. DeAngelis.
The board may recall that we had an earlier agreement, which was with the old Kaufman's property. That agreement fell through after the board approved it, and we actually are pleased that it fell through because we were able to spend a little less money for a more interesting space for us for the storage of equipment and texts and other things for the big move this summer with our K-5 elementary new school process. I've seen the space. It's an interesting space which they can drive trucks into and save and speed up the process, and I think that it's been a very positive development for the district.
For those who aren't familiar, because we're building the 4 new buildings, we have to take the items out of the current buildings, demolish those buildings, and then be able to move it into the new building. So we have to have some set up space for that short period of time.
Correct. It's only a couple of months.
Okay. Did we get a motion on that? Yes. Okay. Any questions or comments? Call the roll, please.
Mrs. DeAngelis?
Yes.
Mrs. Lysy?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Sudar?
Yes.
Mrs. Van Ho?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
And I want to thank Mr. Higley for working through this process for our benefit. Item number 26 is a resolution considering the accepting a donation of a television and VCR DVD player from Dr. McKenzie for use in the high school music department. I recommend approval.
Is there a motion? Moved by Mrs. Sudar, second.
Second.
By Mrs. Lysy.
As is often the case with these items, this was a personal contact by Ms. Tizano with Dr. McKenzie, and this is a brand new TV, VCR, DVD combination player.
Okay.
And we will send an appropriate letter of thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Lysy?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Sudar?
Yes.
Mrs. Van Hoen?
Yes.
Mrs. De Angelis?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Item number 27 is a resolution considering the approval of the adoption of a curriculum for the school as a teaching tool, and I recommend approval.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Sudar, second.
Second.
By Mr. Smith.
Thank you. This is the curriculum for K-5 that's required to obtain LEED certification for the 4 new elementary buildings. It provides for 10 hours or more per year of instruction for students in energy efficiencies. And the curriculum has been on display for the board's review the past couple of weeks in the boardroom.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions or comments? I think it's going to be really exciting to watch the students get used to their new schools and be able to see the information that they gain from the certification process.
Great. It's going to be excellent.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Sudar?
Yes.
Mrs. Van Hoen?
Yes.
Mrs. De Angelis?
Yes.
Mrs. Lysy.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, and I'd like to thank Mr. Schweitzer and his staff for spearheading this curriculum. I appreciate the efforts. It was a labor of love since we went through the first edition, and I turned it back for some revisions, and they graciously agreed to make those changes, so it's really great. Item number 28 is a resolution considering the approval of summer curriculum projects, and I recommend approval.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Sudar, second.
Second.
By Mrs. De Angelis.
The projects are listed. Many of them are related to technology or the Common Core state standards, the changes that are coming in that regard. But if you have any questions, Mr. Lysick is able to answer any specific questions you have this evening.
Are there any questions or comments? It's quite an extensive list. You're going to be very busy.
We will be.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Sudar?
Yes.
Mrs. Van Hoen?
Yes.
Mrs. De Angelis?
Yes.
Mrs. Lysy.
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, and I thank the Academic Services Department and Mr. Lysick in particular for coordinating these efforts. It's really terrific for the district. Item number 29 is a resolution considering certification of the class of 2012, and I recommend approval.
Is there a
So
motion?
moved.
For those of you who don't know, Mrs. Sudar has a graduate this year. Moved by Mrs. Sudar, second by Mrs. De Angelis. So Jody, when we finish voting, you're official.
Yeah.
Right.
There you go.
Any questions or comments? Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Van Hoen?
Yes.
Mrs. De Angelis?
Yes.
Mrs. Lysy.
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Sudar?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
And I just have a couple of items for Superintendent's informal, Mrs. Van Hoen.
Okay.
Tomorrow is the Citizens for Euclid Schools annual golf outing. And as long as the weather cooperates, we should have about 124 golfers supporting us at the Pine Ridge Golf Course in Willoughby. I say that tongue-in-cheek a little bit because we've had 10 days of sun. And now tomorrow we're confronting the possibility of a little bit of rain. But this is always a great event, and the proceeds go to support both the levy committee as well as the Euclid Schools Foundation. Tomorrow also happens to be the annual summer band camp preview show with 2 performances, one at 10:30 in the morning and the second at 7 p.m. in the south parking lot next to the auditorium. And finally, our next meeting, which will be on June 25th, will be our facilities update, our next meeting. So that concludes my superintendent's informal.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any communications or petitions?
We do not.
Do we have any new business?
Yes, we do.
Okay, we sure do. Let me pass out. Sorry, I should pass this out earlier. These are the resolutions, and then they also included the copy of the contract for everybody. And you have all this already, right?
Yes, I do.
I may read the resolution, and then I have some more to read. Whereas a vacancy will exist in the office of the Superintendent of Schools on August 1st due to the retirement of Superintendent Dr. Geoffrey Jones, and whereas the board has conducted a thorough review of possible candidates to fill the superintendent position effective August 1st, 2012, and whereas the board has identified a highly qualified candidate to fill that vacancy, now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Education of the Euclid City School District, Cuyahoga County, Ohio, as follows. 1, in accordance with revised code section 331901, the board hereby employs Keith M. Bell Sr. to serve as superintendent of schools of the Euclid City School District for the period August 1st, 2012 through and including July 31st, 2015. The terms of said employment are set forth in a contract of employment, which following its execution shall be maintained on file in the office of the treasurer. 2, the board president, Superintendent Keith M. Bell, Sr., and Treasurer be and are hereby authorized and directed to take such actions as are necessary and appropriate to effectuate the terms of this resolution, including without limitation the execution of the contracts referenced above and appropriate fiscal officer certificates. 3, the board hereby finds and determines that all actions relating to the adoption of this resolution were taken in accordance with law, including but not limited to the provisions of revised code section 121.22. I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Sudar.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Lysy. Call the roll and then we'll talk.
Mrs. DeAngelis.
Yes.
Mrs. Lysy.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mrs. Sudar.
Yes.
Mrs. Van Hoek.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
First of all, just so everyone knows, we started our process back in March. The board hired the Ohio School Board Association to conduct our search for us. We had over 30 people apply to be considered. The School Board Association screened the candidates and gave us 13 names, and the board decided we would interview all 13. Remember all those meetings we talked about earlier and that we had in May? That's what they were about. We met and did interview all 13. We took it down to 5. We then took it down to 3. And the 3 finalists did have an opportunity to meet with our staff, our administrators, and our community group in order for them to just, provide another set of eyes and so forth. We're delighted this evening to present Keith M. Bell. And Keith, if you would please come up. I've got a bio to read about you, and then you get a shirt too, yeah.
2 shirts, actually.
Actually 2. You get your hat. You got to have a baseball cap for Euclid.
I want to be a what is it?
Euclid Panther. Euclidean?
Euclidean. I want to be a Euclidean.
You have to be a Euclidean.
There you go. You can do that. There's your reading marathon T-shirt, and then your polo shirt for on those days when it's maybe not quite so dress-up day.
That's starting tomorrow, Mrs. Van Hoek. We've been counting down the days.
Okay, I'd like to introduce Keith M. Bell Sr., our new superintendent. Mr. Bell grew up attending the Toledo Public Schools, graduating from Woodward High School in 1974. His parents, both college graduates, encouraged him and his 3 brothers to excel educationally first and never allowed any one of them to make excuses for failure. Mr. Bell graduated from the Defiance College in 1978. He currently serves the college on its Board of Trustees and chairs the Academic Engagement Committee. After leaving Defiance, he received his Master's of Education degree in 1979 from Bowling Green State University. Mr. Bell's educational career began as a marketing education teacher and baseball coach at Grove City High School. Basketball, I'm sorry, I wrote basketball.
I don't know anything about baseball.
Serving as head coach the final 5 years. At Grove City, he supervised the marketing education program, which was supplemented by a laboratory which grossed over $80,000 per year. You'll have to let us know how to do that. Mr. Bell's administrative career began as an assistant principal at Gahanna Lincoln High School in August 1993. At the time, Lincoln High's student achievement was stagnant for specific student groups, and student discipline was a major concern. By introducing the student to the Renaissance concept of recognizing student achievement, results were seen as more students were recognized and rewarded for doing the right things. Renaissance is a program that recognizes students in 3 significant areas: attendance, behavior, and academics. This program became nationally recognized, and Mr. Bell was inducted into the National Jostens Renaissance Hall of Fame in San Diego, California in 1999. He also received the district's Vision Award for initiating positive change. Mr. Bell currently serves on Jostens National Renaissance Advisory Board and has been a national presenter speaking to schools throughout the country regarding its impact on student achievement. In addition to Renaissance activities, he also serves on the Ohio State ACT Board. Mr. Bell was selected as principal at Groveport Madison High School in the spring of 2000, where he once again directed a school to higher academic achievement. In the spring of 2004, Mr. Bell became the principal of Westerville South High. At the time, the school was in its first year of school improvement and had not met AYP for 2 of the 10 student groups and had just experienced 2 previous failed levy opportunities. Immediately, the first year, things began to change through many initiatives, including re-emphasizing a common focus for instructional practice throughout the building. In the 2004-05 academic year, Westerville South increased its Ohio graduation test results in every academic content area. The next year, South had the highest performance index of the 3 high schools in Westerville, as well as the highest number of students at the advanced and accelerated levels, and the highest attendance and graduation rates in the district. Westerville South received an excellent rating on both the 2004-05 and the 2005-06 state report cards. Additionally, Westerville South was recognized by Standard & Poor's Evaluation Services for, quote, significantly narrowing the achievement gap between higher and lower performing student groups, unquote. South was one of only 77 schools in the state of Ohio recognized for a 12% reduction in this gap. The momentum continued during his 4 years, and in the fall of 2007, Westerville South was recognized by U.S. News and World Report with a silver medal as one of the top 400 high schools in the country, and again by Newsweek magazine in the spring of 2008. Westerville South was also recognized that year as having the highest number of first-year graduates of any first-year international baccalaureate program in the world, with 31 graduates. In the spring of 2008, Mr. Bell moved to be the Director of Secondary Academic Affairs, where he was responsible for over 6,800 students in 4 middle schools and 3 high schools. Academic achievement continued to improve, as reflected in the significant improvement in high school ACT scores and standardized test data, as well as 1 middle school being identified as excellent with distinction. The district continues its success today using the groundwork that Mr. Bell had laid. In August 2011, Mr. Bell accepted the position as Deputy Superintendent and Chief Academic Officer for Columbus City Schools. Immediately, Mr. Bell set out to meet all 118 building principals, 25 support personnel, and 5 regional directors to determine how to work collectively and support student achievement. He also introduced to the district monthly Saturday leadership workshops focused on assistant principal development, along with other initiatives for student achievement. Mr. Bell is married to his lovely wife, Tony, and they have 2 sons, Keith Jr., a 2011 Bowling Green graduate, and Josh, a junior at the University of Cincinnati. Please join with me in giving Mr. Bell a proud Panther welcome.
I'd like to just say before I get started that bio, my speech will be much less than the bio that was read. So you don't have to worry about a long speech. The first thing I'd like to do is to introduce my family. And I'm going to have them stand. My wife, Tony, my lovely wife, Tony. My son, John. And my mother and father from Toledo came up, Norman and Aurora Bell. Behind them, I have my brother and sister-in-law, Letha and Raymond Fowley, and then my niece, Raina, who is a Cleveland City Metropolitan School District teacher. I'd like to thank them on all of the visits and going up and down 71 for the last few weeks. Raina has opened her home to me to be able to get ready and all that, so I appreciate that, and they've extended a lot of hospitality, so I appreciate that. The next thing I'd like to do is to just acknowledge the work of Dr. Jones. I know how significant, how difficult it is, and I'm really just in awe of some of the things that you've done, and I just want to just tell you that I appreciate the way you've set the table and all of the time and effort, and I know anybody that sits in that chair, you know, we may not necessarily agree, but it's a tough job, and so I just want to let you know that even though I wasn't a Euclidean then, I am now. But I appreciate, I'm going to get that out before I get out of here, that I really appreciate what you've done on behalf of kids, because that's really what it's all about. So I'd like everybody to give him a round of applause for his work. And I'll be very brief. Thank you, Board of Education. It was very, I enjoyed the process, and I was sharing with Dr. Harris this morning when we were going through some things and we were talking about what was going to happen in the gap and the things that I'll be leaving in Columbus, how much I enjoyed the questions that I was asked. And I told her, I said, the thing about the Board of Education, she was asking, you said, well, what's the difference? Well, she asked me, what's the difference between our board and this board? And, you know, we could have gone all day on that one. But one of the things that was really significant was the fact that the questions that I was asked, and our Board of Education asked some really significant questions, but I was really impressed with the type of questions that I was asked. And what it meant to me was that there was a deep feeling and a deep understanding of what we want to try to do together collectively to move kids forward, because that's really what it's all about. So I appreciated that. I appreciated the treatment. I'm glad that you weren't too hard on me. I really appreciate that. And I really enjoyed the conversation. I enjoyed the visits and all that. And I really look forward to being here. I'm a Cleveland Browns fan, so this is really good for me. My wife went to John Hay in Cleveland, so she's from the area. And I have relatives, as you can see, from the area. So I'm really looking forward to this opportunity. And I enjoyed the presentations tonight. I want to just acknowledge the retirees and congratulate them, and just look forward to my new team and new family. So I thank you for the opportunity. Look forward to starting the work, and I know we're going to do great things together. So thank you very much, and thanks for staying for this.
Got to get you dressed right. Okay, whoops, I lost my agenda here. Where am I? How did I do that?
Board members informal.
Okay, what are we? Yeah, where are we? Okay. All right. Is there any board members informal?
Yes, but.
Go ahead. Yes, but go ahead.
Well, I just didn't. I
ahead.
figured a lot of us had some informal on tonight. First of all, a quick comment about the retirees, and one in particular in the back. Well, first of all, thank you all for your service to the district. And I would like to point out that one of the retiring teachers, Mr. Dave Saywell, was my homeroom teacher when I was in 7th grade. That was his first year assignment. And so those of you that are new hires to the district, a future school board member may well be in your class at some point, and so we would encourage you to be on your toes, even at the beginning of your career here in the city of Euclid. And now about Mr. Bell and the board search process. And this was a very this was the second search I was involved in. I was a part of the board when we hired Dr. Jones 10 years ago, and when he announced his retirement, I was surprised. But at that point, I also said to the board, I said, okay, we've got a lot of work to do now. And when we first got the list of candidates from the Ohio School Board Association, one of the comments that was made by one of the reviewers, so the process essentially is that they kind of help the process. They're very well networked across the state. And so the applicants come into them, and then they have a committee of 4 to 6, I think it's 6, that review them and kind of give us a unbiased rating, which is to say they don't know the district as well, they don't know the candidates really well, but they give us a sift. And there was 8 candidates on the A list. Mr. Bell was on that list, and 4 candidates on the B list. And we included internal candidates and began a very extensive interview process. But one of the reviewers, who was a former superintendent, said that this was the best 1 or 2 collection of candidates that this reviewer had ever seen, which I think speaks to, in all honesty, the respect that Dr. Jones has across the state of Ohio. Because if he would have said bad things about the city of Euclid School District, we probably would not have gotten as good of a collection of candidates that we did. And one of the candidates asked the question, and so then the board began the process of interviewing, as Ms. Van Ho said, 13 individuals. About halfway through that first round interview, one of the candidates asked the board, well, what's the most significant decision you've ever been a part of? And I was like, that is a good question. And that individual did not make the cut. They were a very impressive candidate, but I said, you know, I'm in year 11 as a school board member. I'm not planning on running again. I've seen the schools, I've seen our district achievement scores rise. I've seen us pass 3 school levies in a row. I've seen us pass a bond levy, so we're going to rebuild. We're going to open 4 brand new elementary schools that'll serve our city's students for the next, 50 to 100 years. But I said to this individual, I said, but in all honesty, I think the best decision I will make for this district is the selection of the next superintendent. Because even at that point, I sensed that the quality of applicants was so strong that whoever the board could come to consensus around, that was going to be an exceptional educational leader. And as the process continued, and I have described the conversations that the board had as vigorous and fruitful, because we really were trying to decide who was the best candidate, what was the best fit. And since Mr. Bell is a football fan, as am I will say that our decision of when it came down to the final 3 candidates really was a decision between, do we want Aaron Rodgers, do we want Tom Brady, or do we want Peyton Manning? Because the 3 finalists were amazing. I'm not sure if we got Rodgers, Brady, or Manning, but I know we got Bell. And that's a very good thing for this district moving forward. And the city of Euclid and the Euclid School District, we are honored to have you as our next superintendent. And this was not an easy decision at all, but I am very comfortable with this decision moving forward. And I want to kind of sum up before some of my other board members say something, and I hope they will, as saying the other benefit of this process was that the board saw the process. Because I'm not planning on being a part of the next superintendent search. Ms. Van Ho has been on the board slightly longer than I have. I'm not sure how long she plans to continue. And I'm not in any way trying to, suggest anything one way or another. But the other board members have now gone through the superintendent search for the very first time, and it was an extensive and difficult and completely well-executed search. And what is good for the City of Euclid School District is that Donna Sudar and Kathy DeAngelis and Angie Lizey have now been through one of the toughest processes that you will ever go through as a school board member, and they have now seen that process, so hopefully the leadership of the 3 of them will help the Euclid City School District make a very good hire the next time we have to go through this process.
Let's not shove them out too fast.
Again, I'm not in any way suggesting that that's my intent.
Well, I just have a few comments to add. You did a great job of really going through the whole process. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I will say I have a tremendous amount of respect for what you, Dr. Jones, do, what you, Dr. Selica, do, what you, Mr. Lysick, do, and what you will be doing, Mr. Bell. And I've enjoyed it. I think it was excellently done. And I think that I need to extend a special thank you to President Van Ho. She really put a full effort in considering the amount of, how should I say this, difficulties and challenges that you had. Mrs. Van Ho came off of a vacation, drove 9 hours from Virginia to be in attendance for a meeting of deliberation. A day after that, had to go under a medical procedure, came back from the hospital and was in a meeting again to conduct. And so kudos to you, Mrs. Van Ho, for your leadership and your perseverance through that. And I will say that you were excellent in the process, and you really brought us together as a board to rally around and come to a consensus. So thank you for that. And to Dr. Jones, you are going to be sorely missed.
Thank you.
And
I will miss you all as well.
I really have enjoyed the last 7 years that I've served with you. I've learned a lot. And I will say that once in a while you meet a person that makes you better. And I'm a better person having known you.
Thank you.
And I appreciate you. And I think also, no one has had, few of us have gotten an opportunity to meet Mrs. Jones. And she is a terrific woman, and I will miss her also, but you all will stay in the community.
Yes.
And I will see you walking, and I will come down the beach and say hi to you.
I will finally have time. Yes.
And I say this to Dr. Jones, but I've never said this publicly. Behind every good man is a really great woman. And Mrs. Jones is that. And I said to Dr. Jones, when I grow up, I want to be Sharon Jones. And I truly mean that. And if I could just make one comment, I had the pleasure of calling Dr. Good in Westerville to get the reference for Mr. Bell. And the one thing he told me, and so did a board member in Westerville, not only will you get Mr. Bell, but you will get Tony Bell as well. So I am looking forward to the Bell family. So thank you, and thank you so much, Dr. Jones, for your service. We really appreciate it.
Okay, anybody else?
I can't say goodbye to Dr. Jones.
No,
because
we're not going to say goodbye to him now.
No, because he will always be my friend. We worked tirelessly through levy after levy, bond issues, and he's a great partner. So, but I want to thank you, Mr. Bell, for applying for this position. We are very excited about the future at Euclid City Schools, and we welcome you and your family. So.
I'm the newbie on here, and I've only been here 6 months, and they've given me lots of things to do. I look forward to working with you. I need a calm year now. We're like done, you know. We've had a lot of changes in the last 6 months, processes to be a part of. I am looking forward to working with you the next couple of years, and let's see what we can do and make Euclid a better place for our students and for the community. And Dr. Jones, we're not done yet.
No, I'll bet.
You got to walk with me from 266 to Roosevelt one day.
I'll do that, Mr. DeAngelis, gladly.
That's quite a walk.
It's not too bad.
Okay.
We're getting it on a regular basis now.
How many days can we take?
2.5 hours you got.
Too bad my house isn't in between. I'd offer you water, but it's kind of...
Mine's 3/4 of the way.
There's a few good places to stop in between.
As you can tell, we did have quite a search, and it was really good, and the board worked very hard. We sometimes had to leave because the custodian was leaving here, and we didn't have a way of locking the door on our way out, so we had to leave when she left, and she was like, okay, I'm leaving now, are you ready? And
She's the 6th member of the Board of Education.
But she kept us, so at least we didn't stay forever every night. And I appreciate all the hard work the board did, because it was quite an extensive process, and we met a lot of great people, got a lot of great ideas, but I think we got the best one here, and that's the most important part. So as you go about your business, please be sure to stop by and see Mr. Bell and congratulate him and his family. And they are going to be moving into the community, so you'll see them again and again and again. And at this point, I will now, do we have any visitor comments? I almost forgot that. Mr. Cervenik. Mayor Cervenik, yes, you can come up. You don't even have to say your name and address. We know where you are.
Good evening, everyone. I did want to come here not to say goodbye to Dr. Jones. I know he has one more meeting. I won't be at the next meeting. But I wanted to say thank you. I don't think all of us really understand how difficult a job like his was, the levies that were passed, and most importantly, the bond issue that was passed that has allowed 4 new elementary schools to be built in this community. That's really your legacy. That is going to transform this district into something you've never seen before. I can sit back and think about other school districts, where they are, where they could be. I look at where we could be if not for Dr. Jones's leadership. He's earned the trust of all. He's earned the trust of his board. It's quite obvious. He's earned the trust of the teachers, the staff, the full administration. He's earned my trust. He's earned City Hall's trust, and he earned the residents' trust. Or we would not have those successful levies, and we would not have those 4 beautiful buildings rising up from the ground like we have. So I need to thank you. You're a friend. You're a leader. And this community owes a lot to you, and I'm glad you're sticking around. I really am. It could be good to see you, and we can still have breakfast.
We'll still have breakfast.
We can still have breakfast. We got one set up for Tuesday. Also, Mr. Bell, congratulations. I extend my full power of my office, or whatever word you want to use, and my cooperation and my love of this community to help you to keep us moving forward. I want to thank the board for the process of allowing the community, real community, to be involved in this and to be a part of the choosing of the superintendent. That was something that was very refreshing and very much appreciated by the people involved. So you got big shoes to fill. I think you know that. But from the little bit I've known you and what I've read about you, Mr. Bell, I think you will gain the trust and the love and the ability to get people to work together, just as Dr. Jones has. So congratulations to you, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Are there any other visitor comments? Okay, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Sudar, second.
Second.
By Mrs. DeAngelis. Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Lysy.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mrs. Sudar.
Yes.
Mrs. Van Hoek.
Yes.
Mrs. DeAngelis.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Dr.